Hey, Willie, what's going on?
Oh, not too much. Booking some bands for HMTV Canada.
And we got a lot to look for, the online ones.
Yes, it's been a pleasure working with HMTV Canada and bringing such artists that I have brought to your eZine.
We have made a lot of your artists a featured artist in 2008. They were great bands, great sound recording technicians, everything. We've learned a lot from them too. They're very interesting.
Well, my perspective is to bring out the whole industry to the reading and listening audience so that they know what goes on behind the scenes as well as the artists that they listen to on radio stations and their own CD collections.
Can you tell us what's new with Willie Forrest as a publicist?
Well, basically, I'm working with two new artists that came to me through contacts. War Machine, which is based out of Toronto, Canada, and they were produced by former Megadeth bass player and now with F5, David Ellefson, and now I have the pleasure of working with an artist that is produced by a Toronto producer, Richard Chicky, who is just finished recording El Dorado from Spain, and their new album is out. So I'm really excited about that.
That's fantastic. It seems like you're really busy these days too. Like it's hard to get a hold of you, and you really got a lot on your plate.
Well, I have the fortune to work with a lot of great people in the industry, so it keeps me busy for music, sports, etc. So, and I do have a few authors that I represent as well, so it does keep me busy and working on getting a lot of the artists into the mainstream radio, which is a lot tougher than the internet radio.
Right, and right now you have that project with the Olympics?
Yes, I've got a project with the Olympics currently, and we'll be really busy in February.
Yeah, so a lot of great things to look forward to. Now, you were talking some industry talk in emails. Can you tell us a little bit what you found out?
Well, this is all in appeals court of Canada, but there is now what is called Tariff 22. And right now it's a provisional license for internet radio stations, and currently I have no information as to whether or not DJs that are broadcasting on foreign stations are going to be regulated or not. And this has been an ongoing battle. Fortunately enough, the Canadian government has ruled it cannot regulate the internet, which I totally agree with because it is the World Wide Web.
Mm-hmm.
But the artists should be protected for their royalties for the use of their music because they're the ones that wrote it. They composed it, so they should deserve some sort of financial reward as well as the advertising reward of having their music played on internet radio and internet sources.
Okay. So what if you're living in Canada and you're an American DJ? How does that work? Or if you're a Canada DJ and you're working for...
It's the opposite way around. If you're a Canadian DJ and you go and you've got Canadian artists, I feel that this is the big question. You're playing artists from around the world on that American station, but the agreements have not yet been set with the royalty collections from all around the world. and it's still pending in Canada. There's only provisional licenses, from my understanding, set up currently. So if you're a Canadian station, example Pure Rock Radio, you've got a license, covers Canada. But if you're a DJ from Canada doing internet radio and you're on an American station, what kind of regulations are going on behind the scenes? Is it a mechanical license or that? Because as a DJ, you cannot afford maybe the royalties. But how does the Canadian artist get protected?
Okay, and that's what you're researching right now?
Yes,
okay.
This is what we are researching right now.
And how does that work if you're a Canadian but you're an American DJ and not in Canada?
If you're an American DJ and you are basically on an American station, you're licensed out of the FCC down in the States.
Okay.
If you're an American DJ on a Canadian station, again, there's no provided regulations there, and this is where the questions lie with members that are composers that are represented by SOCAN here, but there are 3 agencies involved in this. From my research, and I'm asking questions about it because I do represent people like Daryl Dwarf Miller from Automan, formerly of the Killer Dwarfs, and Layla.
Has there been any challenges in the last 2 years while being in this business as a publicist? Have you been faced with a lot of different challenges like this?
The challenges is a lot of people do not realize that schooling is important in journalism and the following of proper protocols in how to deal with big-time people or even people in general. Before the internet, media was regulated as such, and you were dealing with a radio station where you would walk in. They're properly licensed, and people went to school in colleges like yourself to become educated in the form of journalism and radio stations. But the internet radio market is not quite so educated.
You mean internet radio or just general?
Internet radio and internet eZine.
Oh, okay. Right.
Like yourself, you are taking college courses in it, so you can understand the protocols involved. As
right.
a lot of the other journalists do not have that education, so they don't understand why myself could give them the email address of, let's say, Ronnie Monroe, who has a solo CD out on Rat Pack Records.
Right. Well, our eZine, the way we deal with, some of them are very few independent bands, but we mostly deal with publishing, publicists like you, and our record labels. That's all we mainly deal with.
Well, the thing is you are lucky to have the people around you that you work with, like Steve Bartoloni. I believe that's how you say his name. He is very familiar with the music scene and has got connections through his connections. So therefore, you're dealing with management, publicists, and labels.
That's correct.
Than trying to deal with the band directly that may not want to have their privacy infringed upon. One of the challenges that I had 2 years ago, one of the artists that I was represented was being stalked. So how can you protect the artist?
Yeah, it's a tricky question. That's that in itself. That's I don't know. You real. What was the artist?
The way that you can protect the artist is the publicist or the management company.
Right.
Puts it itself or the label, and then the artist uses a telephone that blanks out the telephone number so that they do not get harassed by such individuals. This is the thing that worries me the most about internet radio, is because none of these people are checked out for criminal behavior.
Oh, I see where you're getting at.
Yes.
But usually, how like DJs too. Like, how do you feel about protecting DJs, like in that same manner?
Well, the publicist is put in the position of protecting both
Parties.
all parties.
Okay.
It's sort of like the middleman of the scene, or the big body protection system when you meet someone live, like, let's say, Judas Priest. Run into their bodyguards before you would run into them.
Right, that's correct. Yeah, that's the internet can be scary. I mean, if you're going to meet anyone on the internet for the first time, you want to definitely bring a crowd with you, no matter what, or bring somebody with you. You just don't go meeting people alone on the internet.
It can happen to anybody, but being a person of celebrity status, it's more of a worry, and that's why publicists exist.
I've had off Facebook. I guess Facebook has got to be the worst for people meeting each other and as a social networking site. Because I've had phone calls where guys wanted to meet me off Facebook, and I said no, that ain't gonna happen. And you know, I in a professional sense, I say, well, if you like our eZine, you like our interviews, just keep spreading the word. If there's some band that you want on there, we'll try to get a hold of our publicist and get them on there, sort of thing. But I will not meet anybody on the internet.
I had a relationship that was based off of the internet, and I learned an awful lot about that. So it wasn't a stalking kind of thing, but people are different on the internet rather than in real life.
Right.
So you can be anybody you want to be on the internet, but in real life you are who you are.
See, the way we work our eZine, all of our crew works together in promoting the bands and spreading the word out about them. But there's the one thing that I do, and I've been firm with it ever since I started this, was that I keep my private life separate from my working on the internet life and what I do as a DJ. My personal life is definitely it's two separate things. Like, it's private.
Well, that is important in any line of work. Private life and your business life.
Right.
Unfortunately, my business life is extremely busy. Like, I put in a lot of hours into what I do.
Yeah.
Okay? Because I work for several labels and several different management companies, as you know, and provide the media with that information. So, therefore, they work with me, and I also work for a PR company for the Olympics. But
wow.
The thing is protecting the private rights of that celebrity.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, same with the internet too. Like, my eZine takes a lot of my time studying up on the bands and coming up with the interviews or the online text and publishing them and upkeeping the websites. I don't have time to run all my MySpace or Facebook pages. I got a street team doing that. But it's surprising. Like, even when I'm in college or at work, that part of my life is separated out of what I do on the internet.
Well, it's important to have a balance in your rather than dedicating your whole life to 24 hours a day to your work or to even a hobby. Like, we have definitions as to commercial community and hobby type of journalism. Hobby journalism is that does not get paid and basically does not have the licensing through FCC and the CRTC be called community or college.
Mm-hmm.
College radio, believe it or not, is best media for a new band to be involved in, because so many bands have made a success out of college radio, including bands like Dave Matthews Band and Metallica.
College radio is just one of the media that will play these underground bands and give them airplay. A lot of them are not on the internet, but a lot of them are locally out there.
That's right.
Yeah.
So to me, that is a major target for them, because you're actually appealing to mostly the buying public that will buy the CD.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, the rotation of major FM radio stations and mainstream media is more about the song that is to the marketplace today. Okay, so therefore that generates huge sales. An example of that would be Nickelback in Canada.
Okay. I just interviewed one artist, and she was saying that she's not really for record labels because they take away from artist development. What's your opinion on that?
Upon the deal that you sign. That's my opinion.
Okay, I guess her project was really big, but she just made it on a major tour without a label support, and she's got so many sponsors that she feels that she doesn't really need to be signed by a record label to represent her.
Well, certain record companies are good and certain record companies are bad. You see, I know of situations where back in the 80s when I was doing techie for certain bands, I'm an educated sound man through college myself, and what I learned, it's not always the record company, it's the deal that you sign, and did you come across with that deal? Did you follow every point that the record company did for you? I know of a band back in the 80s, I won't put their name on this interview, that walked out with their signing contract to do their album of $200,000 and went to Jamaica on.
Oh boy.
So you can get the idea that
Mm-hmm.
it is not always the record company that could be at fault. Some of these are band and management issues.
Yeah, I guess a lot of the like artist development. What exactly is artist development? Like when a band talks about that, what?
Artist development is basically the type of format that the record company wants to bring across for that band.
Mm-hmm.
You can see the big changes in, example, U2 throughout career.
Okay.
So they're a major label, and you can see the change that they have done.
Okay, so it's the bands that want to that when they talk about that they want to keep that with it, like within the band themselves, or they feel that record labels, when they're talking about stuff like that, they feel record labels are trying to change that image in them.
Well, the thing is the record company probably knows what's going to sell on the media.
Okay.
To give the band the money. So they want to establish a good, successful band, and if the band can't follow that, but wants to follow the artistic impression, I would suggest that they sign with an independent label that affects their music in no such terms. In other words, just a distribution deal.
Okay. Now, you book for a lot of internet radio stations. At this current time, you're busy booking for several of them.
I do bookings for several internet radio shows, and I do some for college FM radio stations, and I do some for community radio stations, and I do a few commercial radio stations.
Okay, and is there a lot of talk at this current time about RIAA issues or the internet? That's
basically the RIAA is for protection of royalties from the artist, and it's organized down there in the United States.
But does that have anything to do with Canada?
It does through SOCAN.
Okay.
And this is the importance of the licensing agreements with internet radio stations and DJs and podcast sites, etc.
Okay, so what do you see happening down the road with all of this in the industry now and the changes that are happening?
Well, I like internet radio myself. I like the freedom of expression.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I am not one for the mainstream labels as such. I understand what they're trying to do, but it tends to not allow certain genres of music on mainstream radio. It's all about selling Coke and Pepsi.
Yeah, and you're limited as to what you can say on a mainstream. Like you can't. There's certain words that you're not allowed to say, like swear words or anything. You're limited as to what you can and cannot say as well.
Well, that is a basic rule of mainstream television and radio and all of that, due to the audience that gets to actually view or hear that genre of media. So in ways I'm for that, because young children can listen to it without parent instructions.
Right, that's true. Yeah.
So everything is put in for a reason with that. You see, the CRTC in Canada regulates the music that is played on Canadian radio stations, such as college, not so much, but the mainstream media. And that dictates 33% of the artists having to be Canadian, which supports our local market of Canada.
There's a lot of artists that are, like, say, on Q107 or Dave FM, that are still British dominated, like from the 80s. They're spinning on airtime.
Again, that's the format of the radio station.
Mm-hmm. And I guess, well, with internet radio, I don't think there's really a format that they go by. It's different.
Basically, the format in the United States as to their jurisdiction of their agreement is cannot play more than 3 songs by one artist in a row.
Okay.
So they have sort of regulations, but they also are under the jurisdiction of copyrights. And to me, an artist should get copyright royalties no matter what, if it is displayed in a public place.
Okay, I can understand that. And that goes for worldwide that you're talking about, like
worldwide,
internet radio and that
the
sort
artist
of thing.
doesn't matter if they're on an independent label. It doesn't even matter if it is on a label, as long as the artist has covered the copyright of that material, which is basically at the time that they invented, and register it with the copyright board, they're entitled to some sort of royalty. But the thing is that kind of artist that isn't under a label would, or be in line with a SOCAN or an ASCAP, would have to hire someone to collect their royalties.
Okay. I can't even think of the next question I was going to ask. Okay, now, is this a problem with most internet radio stations right now that you're experiencing, or?
Well, there are some vagrant royalty stations in the United States that I notice about, and that is with people that tend to want to waive royalty issues.
No, are these
That have a licensed stream.
Are these internet radio stations, or?
Those would be internet radio stations.
And you're not talking about college radio, it's just basically internet?
It's just basically internet.
Okay. And now, when an independent band gives these internet radio stations or interviewers demos, and like a lot of them are demos, or a lot of the record companies have that in the iPool where they give out free MP3s.
The free MP3s that radio stations receive from a record company is actually the release that is sanctioned for radio airplay.
Okay, I understand that.
Whereas demos would be a non-released project from a band that does not have a record company and maybe shopping the product. That is a demo.
Oh, so what would you call a demo?
Basically, it is a piece of music that has been created by an artist for the purpose of shopping to a record label their product that is not on CD yet.
Right. Okay.
That is a demo.
All right. And yeah, because usually that demo changes down the road.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not really. It's just like a working.
It's basically ideas that the band has come across, and you hardly would ever see it from an independent label or a major label.
And definitely that song would definitely change once they get it on a CD or something. It would be different.
Once a producer has done his production,
so
it's been properly engineered.
Right. So it's just a raw form of a demo from the band that they put out.
Not as good as the final product either.
Right. Okay, I understand that. And usually, so what you're dealing with when it comes to like internet radio, are a lot of these radio stations licensed?
Well, in the States, they all have to be licensed at this time. The FCC has a certain act. If they are not, they are considered basically a bootleg station. And I do not know who polices that. I do have issues with it, but because there's very little ways of checking out licensing currently, which should be opened up to some sort of information from the FCC stating what stations are licensed, so that we've got some sort of guideline. Because publicists are from all over the world. I'm from Canada, and an example would be Jeff Albright, who is the PR publicist of Queensryche, and he's from the States.
Right.
So basically, we sort of work together to find out who's licensed and who's not.
And that can take up a lot of your time as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's eZines, which do not have the same kind of publication laws as magazines.
Right.
So again, we have to check out those kind of people. Like, for an example, yourself, you're in line with Hollywood Music Television the United States.
Right.
So, of course, with the people that the owner of Hollywood Music Television, Steve, knows a lot of record companies and has had to deal with the logistics of that.
That's right. That's correct. And like our music site, when it does come back up online, the bands can sign up for their profiles and upload their songs, because what they want to do is make it more like a networking site like MySpace.
Right.
With the videos and the music and
Here
uploading.
is one of the issues. With some bands under contracts to their own record company, they cannot actually have that upload because it would be considered a free download.
Oh, okay.
Also would revolve around file sharing. And what happened to Napster is this exact reason. I personally believe, this is my belief, okay? I believe that a song that you hear on the radio station should actually be given free as a download. But this is only my personal opinion. It would be considered to me a demonstration model of a release song.
Mm-hmm.
So to turn on the audience to that band's work, but not all agree with it. Some do and some don't.
Right.
Like, I will give an example. The band Queen would not be for this type of download.
Okay.
Okay? Because of their management and their contract situation. I've seen sites shut down, and they have got the power to do it.
Wow.
Because of how their legal situations are. Whereas an independent band couldn't do that. This is where the main label actually protects its artist more than an independent project would be about. So main labels do have their advantages.
You get some of these podcast sites and some of these radio stations, and they got, and a lot of it's all music format. They got like 2-hour shows of just all music. Now, is that the record labels giving them the music to do that, or how is that done?
Basically, the record company or the copyright holder for sales and the artist have agreed to that. If they haven't, then it could cause issues with these podcast sites.
Okay.
This is the fact of legal permission, and to protect those people, they should be asking for it in an agreement within writing.
Or in the emails, if it's in the emails, then
exactly.
Yeah, you're pretty much safe
but
with
you would
that.
have to keep that on record.
Yep, exactly. You would save all your emails and everything. But I just didn't know, like, some of these internet radio stations, like, that are out there in the U.S., some of them are podcasting different kinds of music, and a lot of it is the mainstream stuff, and I'm just wondering how...
I myself get asked that question.
Yeah, they...
See, and due to legalities, I do not want to be a music distributor. So hence I get the label or the management to send out the music. It is their decision, not mine.
Yeah.
My particular job is finding the media to portray the artist in the best way possible, and my job is also to make sure that the interview is set up between the journalist and the artist within the best ability of protecting that artist.
Okay.
That is my job.
Right. And so you haven't... what about with internet radio stations in Canada? Have you run a lot of... Like, I don't know if there's very many in Canada or not.
Well, I'm lucky. I have a really close old friend from my old days when I was techie. he owns PureRockRadio.net. It was the one that informed me about Tariff 22.
Mm-hmm.
But information given by him was for all DJs to have a license, which I actually agree with.
Right. I've never heard, like, I don't know of any too many internet radio stations in Canada that are independent on their own, but because most of them, I've heard about them, just they're mostly from the USA.
Because of the laws in the United States, they opened it up to the hobby market.
Okay.
But I did not agree with how they particularly licensed. I would have rather seen the royalty collectors and the mechanical collectors say, this is internet radio worldwide, like Canada did, and then have that part of the industry look after it, and not the government.
So do you think by the government getting involved, it's a good or bad thing?
Well, once the government gets involved, you're talking more money.
Mm-hmm.
So with the CRTC regulating that the World Wide Web actually belongs to the world, they did not want to touch it as far as licensing goes, as you would license the station in Canada. They felt that all music and all videos worldwide should be marketed in the World Wide Web by the web itself. Canada does not own it.
Mm-hmm.
Neither does the States.
You said, and neither does the States?
Neither does the States. Nobody owns the World Wide Web.
No, of course not.
It's worldwide.
Right.
So why should the government decide to have the licensing balances of that? So basically, they just basically said licensing should be up to the industry and those that are in the industry.
Right. Which makes a lot of sense.
Involved.
Yeah, I've heard, well, when I'm at the college that I go to, it's all talk about the new InfoWars and stuff like that, New World Order, and then they're talking about a 2-tier web going, where they're going to be taking a lot of stuff off the internet and having like internet for that's going to be better and to serve everybody. I don't know. Have you heard anything?
No, I have not heard anything about anything to do with the New World Order in that genre.
Yeah, I don't know. They said they're going to change the way media works and everything, and I don't know. It's just
basically how media will work is how is it going to be regulated? How is the artist going to be protected? How is the media going to be protected? One of the worries that I have is royalties, but my biggest worry is the criminal element of, let's say, just stalking artists. That bothers me, because I do represent a lot of female artists, and I leave the option of education up to them and their management.
Is there a lot of stalking issues?
I went through 3.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow. Why are they stalking? Like, what's the reason for that? Is it fans? Or
I don't know. I'm not a stalker, so I couldn't tell you. So.
Is it the fans or is it just the DJs?
Well, I will state that it was an owner of a radio station in the United States, and the FC involved in. That's all that I know.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's scary. Over the last year, I've had some rotten emails come through, and even death threats. I had to close down one email. So now I keep everything at the Gmail because I just got to be too much. So yeah, I can see. I don't know if it's stalkers or what crap is going on, but I just don't even pay attention to it anymore. Because if I do, I don't want to do interviews anymore. That's what I find.
Well, the thing is the guy who admires the artist and probably thinks that the artist beautiful and that kind of thing,
Mhm.
okay, and has some clue about his life, I don't mind that. If the artist wants to become involved in a personal life, I don't mind that. But the thing is what kind of criminal background is checked on for his hobby radio station.
Well, you figure that, okay, well, in the field that I'm getting into, you got to have a police check done. You got to have your first aid, and you got to have everything. So everything's there. I mean, if I had to post that stuff on the internet tomorrow, it's there.
Right.
So it's in check. But the thing is, if any, like myself, what I've been through in the past year with the emails coming through, the death threats coming through, in order to stay focused, to keep what I'm doing, and keep on what I'm doing, I've had to shut down one email. You just can't.
Exactly.
You
and
can't.
That's how the artist would feel is like, I don't want to deal with this guy.
Yeah, I mean, for myself, that's been through a lot in the past year, and has had to put up with a lot of bullshit, BS, and coming through these emails. And like, I've had stalkers stalk me in the street as well. The thing is, you cannot pay attention to that. You have to blot that out of your thoughts, and because you can't concentrate on your own creativity as an artist or an interviewer or a DJ if you let these things bother you.
I'm sure that there's some sort of level where the artist can block it up.
Yeah, I mean, you have to. I mean, if you have to shut down emails.
Involved, that is where the point is where I'm stating.
Like if you have to shut down emails, or you see, that's why I like to deal with a lot of publicists or record labels, and have everything put through. Like, this is why I'm with Hollywood Music TV. It's that level of protection that I have with being with them.
There is provisions provided
Mm-hmm.
to what you do. That is why I suggested.
Because if I had to go on my own, I don't think I'd be doing this.
That is why I suggested Metal Blade for you. It's because I know the type of media that Hollywood TV provides and the protection it has for the artists. And Metal Blade have got a few people in their radio and internet promotions that you deal with.
Right.
It's like you're not dealing direct with the band until you're on the phone with them.
Right, that's correct. Or and the same with all the other publicists. Like, when I send interviews out, I usually send them to a publicist.
Right.
Yeah, I don't. I've only had to deal with a couple bands directly, and that's very far and few between.
And no matter how professional you are, you don't know how professional they are either.
Right.
When you're dealing with them independently. I look after some independent artists that are not signed, but I know their credibility, let's say. Example of that is the Cross scene that you were fortunate enough to interview, and they are great people, but they're looking for a specific label contract, and I can't blame them for that. But I have and will be doing them again, and basically I know the members of the band, so I know what kind of people that they are. This is the problem, even knowing who the artist is.
Right. Yeah, because you don't know. Like I said, the internet can be scary, but the thing is,
in the streets can be scary too.
Yeah.
Just talking about the concern that I have, and so therefore that is why I do what I do for the labels and the management company that I work for. And sometimes you yourself get the email with the artist's email directly on it.
Yeah, I don't even pay attention to it.
No, but the thing is the artist knows that it's there, and I have permission to give that email address.
Yeah.
But on some artists, I don't.
Yeah, it's true. No, I just usually what comes through my email, like once the interview is sent out, the interview comes back, it's published, and it's up if the band wants to have a follow up. It's up for them to contact us. We don't go chasing after bands for interviews. If they don't want an interview, we don't bother the first time around.
Right, but
Yeah.
with the artists that I've set up with you, I believe that all 100% have gone through. Maybe one or two may have declined. I
Right.
know that you're behind schedule with one of the labels, but that's understandable. This is a busy, busy business, even at the hobby level.
Right, it is. Yeah.
So, on behalf of myself and the people that I work with, I have to thank Hollywood Hollywood Music TV Canada for doing what they do.
Thanks.
Because it's not easy to work for free.
No, it isn't.
I work for free
Yeah.
for.
Yep.
It's hard dealing with that kind of situation, especially if somebody in media is giving you a rough time over it.
It is, yeah. Well, like I've invested in the website, and I built HMTB Canada from the ground up, meaning I built it from scratch because I do all the web work on that site. But and I've had to deal with people or bands getting back to me saying this and that's talking crap about you, and that, just like I was saying, I had to shut down that one email because if I had to read every email or audio recording or whatever came through and the death threats, that I think I'd be insane by now, like going nuts and pulling my hair out saying I can't do this. But in order to stay focused, I just ignore it and shut it out and blot it out.
See, this is also part of the issue. Some things are done for free, and what kind of respect do you get for that?
Right. Yeah.
Well, I can understand an artist
See, I do this for free.
out over something that he's paying for.
Yeah,
But if
exactly.
he's getting a free service,
Mhm.
there's certain exceptions to that, but I think most artists really appreciate the hobby media.
Right. See, I do.
I do know of
Yeah.
certain circumstances where the journalist has pushed the button. I will give you an example. Rudy Sarzo leaving Quiet Riot. He will not talk about Quiet Riot. So if the journalist is on a telephone talking to Rudy Sarzo about Quiet Riot, I don't think it would go over too well.
No.
I think he would hang up the phone.
Mhm.
But in those kind of cases, the publicist would actually say, you cannot talk about this. But some of these uneducated journalists will come out and actually blatantly do it.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
again, the hobby industry is disrespected for that particular.
Or they don't, or the journalist doesn't know enough information.
Well,
Yeah.
basically, I book an artist where you cannot talk about that.
Yeah, but if it's something that
And it has happened. And
okay,
who gets the flack for it first?
the
I.
publicist does. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, things calm down, and then it's sort of like, well, whose fault is this? And this goes back to the journalist for not reading the entire email or understanding that they are not supposed to bring up that subject. You script all of your interviews.
I have to. It's not the we chose it. The bands whatever the bands want us to talk about. We give them what they want. They chose us to be that way, and it's our way of. If you're working in a retail store, you want to excel your service or your customer excellent service.
Not all interviewers do scripting.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff that we do are online. In a lot of our cases, the bands can't do an audio interview, but if they can't, the script is there. And that's why, being an online eZine, we back up our stuff. That script, what they want goes in that script. So
That's
basically,
understandable.
yeah.
There are some journalists that like to not use a script interview, and I know several good ones that are like that.
Yeah, you see, what we put in those scripts is what we've studied on the bands, and that's what they want us to talk about, or what they want us to study. That's a service that we are 100% backed up against, like that. What we do, we always have room for open suggestions. What the bands want, the bands get. So basically, we're trying to provide a service to excel our service, excel of who we are and what we're all about. So basically, giving the bands what they want is what we're all about.
See, I prefer to have an unscripted one.
Exactly.
Ask for an unscripted one because you're not reading it to me, okay? Which sounds a little stale, right? You're asking thoughts and questions to me right as you think of them, and I'm answering them right as you give me the question, because I really don't have any question that I would not want to talk about it, and I would say no comment if I did. But the thing about this is, with this kind of thing, with non-scripting journalists, when a publicist puts in an email, do not talk about this, and then they turn around and do it in a live, unscripted interview, this is where the problem exists.
I think too, like a lot of these journalists, I know myself, I get so busy I forget. Maybe some of them are really, really busy and they got a lot on their plate, and they just scan through the email and they don't really thoroughly read it, and a lot of them end up forgetting.
Right. And how it hurts me is if I'm working with another PR journalist, PR publicist, and say, this person would like to interview your artist, and I'm told by their PR director not to have this question allowed, and they turn around and do it, I get flack from 3 different sides.
Mm-hmm. That's why...
The artist, from their publicist, and even from the journalist who dared ask you the question.
Mm-hmm. See, this is what we were taught in college. The way we were taught in college is that the script is the legal document between you and the band. The band gets to review the questions and say, I don't want this in and I want that taken out. But at the same time, it depends on the format of your shows. If you're out to sell a CD or if you're out to sell a concert, that scripted document is what the bands want, or helps them.
That's right.
Get the CDs or get the
and we'll mention
and your format of these shows.
In your area, we want to have this pre-produced in the interview.
Right, and
whether or not you script it to the actual band member or not.
Right, it's just if it's to sell, market. If it's like put together in a marketing sense to sell. Basically, that's a really good thing or format to have. That's what I've been told.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Whether or not you do it by script or by memory, it's 2 different things. Sometimes the band, like, you could have your own script and not even send it to the band.
Right, exactly.
Okay? Just as long as you're following.
Or you can have a point form. It's always good to have a point form as well. So because you're, like I said, because you're so busy, you're liable to have a point form to cover key points or have them written down is a important thing too, because it just goes to show that you're not asking any old dumb questions, that you did study the band. So that point form is there to help you remember.
I'll give you an example. Why would somebody like the singer from Queen right now, I can't think of him. He sang for free in Bad Company. Why would he want to really talk about something he did in the 60s if he on tour with Queen. Sure, you could get away with one or two questions about history, but he's usually on a radio show to promote what is happening now.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so you get Alice Cooper, the Alice Cooper show that's on Q107 right now. Have you heard that one?
Oh yes, Alice is great.
Yeah, he's really in line with what's going on in the current. So that's pretty cool that they got that going, and that's a mainstream media. That's when I found that out, I was really surprised. I thought, wow, is mainstream media starting to change or what?
Well, with Alice, he's got a name and he has got a huge following, so mainstream radio would look at him as going, he can do whatever he wants to do. He basically follows a lot of classic artists, and I think he has done a few interviews, but I'm sure that he will be talking to those artists about what they are doing about today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I found that really interesting for a radio station to actually go ahead, because that was the first time that Q107 has ventured into bringing something to the Canadian audience that's new and different.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I had the fortune of representing Rick Derringer through the management of his management, and basically he declined a lot of interviews because he knew that it was going to be about his history with Cyndi Lauper or something like that, rather than the actual, what the interview was about was Derringer reuniting and doing a festival tour.
Mm-hmm.
And that included Vinny Appice.
That when you talk about them reuniting back together for a tour, that is not really what I call an interview. It's more like a press release.
Well, it is a product release, but the fact is that they get the chance of being interviewed for that tour to promote that tour.
Right.
It's the whole point about that interview. Whether or not you bring across a few questions that they might want to answer, that's fine. Like, a lot of musicians are quite open, but there are some that refuse to talk about certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And usually that is described by the artist, management, or their publicist. Just don't talk about it.
Right. And what we try to focus on when we do and start an interview is that we focus on what's current. We want to focus on the album that's coming out or the latest CD that's out.
Tour or whatever.
We really don't get into a whole lot of questions about their past.
Right.
We just, briefly tell us about the current lineup and how everyone met is usually like a short, biased question. But we just want to get into more of what's happening in the now.
See, this is more or less kind of the difference between mainstream media and internet media. Mainstream media wants to talk about the tour.
Mm-hmm.
If you notice on television, like through Much Music, for an example, or Much More Music, you too have been on that show, but they're out on tour when they come to that show.
Right.
The whole idea is we just finished our concert. The whole idea is selling the product.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
That is their point. But the thing is the next night they also played in Toronto, which could have affected the sales of tickets. And that's the other side of the product to sell. Mm-hmm. And with bands suffering from illegal downloads and illegal copying of discs, there is a great rise in ticket prices because of that. So it's also the sale of their other products that they rely on.
Yeah, a lot of them sell merchandise too when you go to the concerts.
Exactly. So they're also selling the product there. So there's the kind of difference that is talked about amongst management, publicists, and labels. Like, I try not to get involved in the tour aspect because it's too hard to arrange from a computer. Usually that is handled by the road manager of the band while they're out on tour.
Mm-hmm.
Manager will let the management know what kind of media or who the media is to talk to in the city.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
You see, the job of the publicist has actually changed over the years. I remember working for Kickax where we would walk into a college radio station with a product and I would go put them on the air right now. We're here.
And what was the reaction?
Pardon?
What was the reaction most of the time?
Oh, wonderful. Like they would drop everything that's being played and put the band member right into interview and play the actual single. And this was before Kickax was even a signed artist.
Wow.
It was their single back in 1981.
Okay, that's cool. Now, I've interviewed Alan Kay, and he's worked for several radio stations already, and he said that usually mainstream radio, they usually are lined up with a lot of record companies first thing in the morning for internet play of their bands. How does that work, what he's talking about? I really didn't get into a lot of detail when I talked to him about it.
Well, basically what I came across with mainstream radio, I was out on the road with the bands mostly.
Mm-hmm.
Was doing a lot of mainstream in Canada. So basically, I would be phoning the actual radio station ahead of time, like maybe 2 or 3 days in advance, warning them that, do you have our music? And so I would have to bring in a disc if they didn't, or the situation of, we're going to be there at such and such a time. Here is area of free time for the band member to do the interview. That's my experience with mainstream radio.
Yeah, there was issues. Well, they had talked about where some of them would come in and it's almost like a booth sense play. Like they would pay to play. Like they would pay the radio station to try and play these artists or bribe them. Is there a lot of that goes on in Canada, or was that just down in the USA that he was talking about over the years when he was working in radio?
I think mainstream media tends to be regulated differently in each country. I think if he's from the United States, my personal view, he's referring to his experience.
Okay.
My experiences with the mainstream and college media of Canada, they've all been good. It's how you set it up at that time. Sometimes it's impossible to do it because the band might be only there for one night, so everything has to be done ahead of time. So therefore, you're back in the 80s, before internet, you would be having to phone stations.
Yeah.
Talk to their program director. Now with the internet, road managers have got that as a benefit, so they're usually in conversation with them through email, and things are arranged heavily prior to that. The problem exists if a PR representative of a band comes across something and the band's already on tour, it's very hard to schedule. Very, very hard.
Okay. Yeah, it's hard to schedule anything when they're on tour. You know, that's why you got to be pretty flexible. And
you have to be dealing with management, their road manager, and their publicist all at one time.
Right. That's true.
Like, I run across it, I can arrange it, but it's
Still there, Willie?
I can arrange it, but it is really tight kind of arrangement. So
Yeah, you pretty much what they try to do is do the conferencing thing. I mean, but if that can't be done while the band's on tour, just when the band's on tour, just talk to the tour manager and then have them call in. They usually call into the DJ for the interview, so it
right,
usually works
and then
out
they'll
that in
put
that
the
sense.
band on the phone for you.
Yeah,
That's
which is
all
good.
arranged by management, the publicist, road manager, but it's really hard to do when the band is on the road and you've got like 3 days notice.
Yeah, it is. It's very tough.
Very tough.
Yeah.
Some people can pull it off. I've pulled it off a few times, but it's a battle to do that. And so it's in a proposal stage of the interview. There's two things that we deal with in live telephone interviews. It will be like, is the interview proposed or confirmed? Once
Right.
confirmed by our way of thinking, and most management would agree, it would be a confirmed kind of contract between that journalist and the artist themselves.
Okay. Yeah, that's right.
We have got issues with that too in the hobby media. Some of them can be technical. Some of them can be lack of responsibility.
Okay, so when you're saying that some of that is tactical, what do you mean by that?
Pardon?
When you're saying that some of the problems are tactical, what do you mean by that?
Internet radio being down,
Oh, okay.
okay, like
Yeah.
the stream,
Yeah.
or it could be the telephone line doesn't work.
Right.
Okay,
Or cell phone issues, of course.
exactly,
Yeah.
which are technical issues which you can come into this. And who do you blame? Can't blame the artist,
No.
blame the DJ or the host.
No, you can't blame anyone.
Blame it is the company that is providing the service.
Right.
So if TELUS Canada or Bell Canada have got line issues, I'm not going to blame the DJ for that.
Yeah. And what are some of the other issues you're talking about?
Well, okay. Health issues is also a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. A journalist that I know of is going into the hospital, but she's already notified management, the radio stations, and everything that she cannot do the interviews. Okay? Everybody is notified. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Which is a good thing. Okay?
Yep.
Whereas, let's say, oh, I completely forgot about our interview. My sister phoned. Would that be a acceptable reason for an interview not done?
No.
So we look at certain things as being, okay, that's a valid reason you're in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
Sorry that you've got health issues, we'll reschedule.
Right.
But we generally have a feel after dealing with the media and the artist after about 3 or 4 interviews. So both sides of it happen. I don't like blaming just one side or the other. It's both sides can happen.
Mm-hmm.
But it
Exactly.
would be up to me to reschedule that interview with the journalist.
Right. Some of the bands, and you're dealing with issues where some of the bands don't even call in, and like I was saying, we don't chase after bands, but I'm not going to reschedule. Like in my case, if a band forgets to call me, I'm not going to call back the band. to reschedule an interview. I'll just get a hold of the publicist and say, well, look, they didn't call in, and would you like to
And
reschedule?
that's how you are supposed to follow up on the artist. It's
Yeah.
basically the publicist and management job to look
Mhm.
after that. The publicist would either be dealing with the artist or their management,
Because usually,
their label.
and I've had this happen. A publicist had set up a band from Europe, and they didn't call in. So I got an email from the band, and they wanted to set it up again. And I said, well, you would have to contact the publicist. You can't go through me directly. And they didn't call back.
That is proper protocol.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they didn't. I don't know if they felt offended because I said they had to contact the publicist and reschedule, or
Unless the publicist has signed off on it.
I don't know. I see the DJ doesn't know this.
But we warn, the usual protocol for that is, I'm on a holiday. If this interview cannot take place, usually the management or the artist would do the follow-up with the journalist.
Yeah, sometimes the journalists don't know these things.
Well, that's
Yeah.
the problem with the education factor that's involved with this particular situation that is involved,
Hmm.
because a lot of these people that are doing hobby media know this. They think they've got the right to talk to the management. They think that they've got the right to talk to the artist, whereas maybe the artist or management really don't want to be bothered.
Yeah,
That's
but
how come.
but like I said, when publicists set up, when a publicist comes to our eZine and sets up an interview, if the band don't call in, like we don't chase after the bands. It's up if the publicist wants to reschedule, or if the bands want to
As long
decline.
as the publicist knows that
Yep.
the band has not phoned in.
Yeah, we don't chase after bands. No, we don't do that.
No, because they've got their own time to worry about too, right?
Yeah, exactly. They could be on tour. They
Something
could be
have
busy.
happened. Maybe they got sick. We don't know
Yep.
until we're dealing with the problem. And this is what a lot of the hobby media journalists do not understand.
That's why it's good to have the online text, because if they want to do the online text, well, it's there. They don't have to do the audio. So
Exactly.
that's the beauty of having
Cannot
scripts.
do that for an internet radio station.
No.
eZine, it is it's my most popular way for an eZine.
It's more flexible, being on or having an eZine, than it is an internet radio station, I think.
That's correct.
Yeah.
The thing about that is making sure that the artist has received text. I have known of missing text interviews that go missing.
Well, I think when you're working
So
with
those kind of things happen too.
when you're working with a publicist, or if you're working with a record label, it's easier to send the interview to the publicist or the record label that you're dealing with.
Exactly.
That way, they send it to the artist.
That's right. And they're the ones that hound the artist to get it done.
Exactly, and it's up to the artist whether they want to complete it or not. If they don't, well, hey, like I was saying, we don't chase
Well,
after.
Usually with bands that have got publicists and management has already told the publicist this has to be done.
Mhm.
Okay?
Right.
I deal with management where I don't even know the artist that I'm working for or have their email. So
Right.
I'm sending that actual copy of the script for that interview by text
Mhm.
to the manager, and then I hound him because has the artist got it done.
Right.
And to my way of thinking, in some ways it's good to have it like that, but in some ways it's bad because at times the manager doesn't have time to do it.
Right. But with the online text is more flexible. Like there's no time limit on that.
Yes, when it comes
Yeah.
to the text, but when it comes to interviews, usually by phone, it's really hard to schedule. A lot of things in this interview business done ahead of time.
And
Ahead of time.
I found time differences is a big major factor of confusion. Like the time differences between Europe and Canada, or between out BC, or like in or Newfoundland. Like people
There
get
is sites to help you on the internet with that problem.
yeah.
There's a site, I believe, called World Time Clock. So basically, if you do have that problem, ask the publicist or management or anything else like that to describe it in your time and the artist's time.
It helps, yeah, because a lot of the bands get confused with the time when you call if you're calling them, for example.
I myself put it in the email directly to the person and to the journalist what time it is for the journalist and is for the artist. That way, there is no fault.
Right, because sometimes if you're dealing with independent bands and they want to call you because they want you to call them because they can't afford the long distance call, or they only have the cell phone. Like a lot of the problems that come in is the time differences. Well, they say, well, what time is it over there? And they're saying, no, you're supposed to call me like an hour ahead of time, and that's the biggest problem right there. Is the time differences. They don't have.
Well, I do believe that we have been lucky with the way that we have set up the interviews with you, management, and myself, and labels. That the people are showing up on time, etc., etc. A lot of these situations are handled by very professional people, but there are people out there that are trying to get into the publicist game too, that don't understand the whole industry either. And so therefore, sometimes you might not get the good publicist.
Right.
And sometimes the publicist is busy as everybody else is. Like, the bigger the band, the more media demand.
Right. That's true.
If that makes sense to you.
Yep.
I deal with the publicist of Queensryche, and at times I'm waiting 3 days before the interview before I hear if the band can do it or not, because he's got that amount of media for request for that kind of band.
Wow.
The bigger the band,
yep.
more popularity. I know this from, actually, I know the PR company that represents Queen. Okay, and I have been trying. I have a request on a radio show out of the States, FM radio show in the States to get Brian May.
Wow.
I've been waiting over a year for that request. It's an open request. But just consider how busy that band is.
Well, sometimes when you're dealing, you have to go through a publicist, but sometimes it might take 6 months or for a year to get that interview.
Exactly.
Yep.
So basically, with that amount of time, you can be waiting for a long, long time.
Right. Or sometimes.
Know that the interview was basically, the publicist for Queen told me we would likely do this, but the band is currently on the road. We don't do organized interviews where the band is not playing unless the band is not playing. So you would have to wait until the band is not in the studio or on the road. Yeah.
A lot of the way they work things is usually like that. Like a lot of the bigger bands.
So basically, think of how busy a band like Queen is.
They're very busy.
On a tour, or they're in a studio, or they're doing something else. So of course, I'm waiting patiently to hear from that publicist whether or not, what date I can have them. And then I have to arrange it with the journalist. And it might mean rescheduling another artist to pull off that actual interview.
Oh, okay. I see where you're coming from on that.
So things do get switched around, and this is the reason why things are actually booked in advance.
Mm-hmm. It's always best that way, because that way people can be prepared.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but mind you, I would not be doing this for every internet radio station that I book. This is an FM community radio station
Okay.
that put in that request.
Oh, right. Okay.
So I deal with other PR representatives, and I know their companies, and I know their management. So I will go out because I am the booker of that show. I have been assigned to book that show. So of course I get all sorts of requests for artists that I have to look up their management. I have to look up their publicist and get in contact with them through the proper protocols.
Right. That's true.
Even though I am a member of the Queen fan club and could actually send the email to Brian's email, and if he read it or not, I wouldn't expect to get the interview that way, because it's not handled by a professional business standard.
Yeah.
This way I'm not backdooring the artist's publicist or management. I would rather deal with the proper method of
Go through the proper channeling for getting the interview. Yeah, that's right.
Whether or not I have to wait 3 years or 4 years for that interview, I would be respected for the professional.
But I think that's really important. Like, before you take on an interview, or before you get that band on their list, to check out who is their publicist. Research who is their management. I had an email come through recently where a band said they knew a publicist, and they wanted me to interview them. And so I brought it to the publicist's attention, and I still didn't find out who the band's PR was. And the publicist had told me that no, he wasn't their PR, and I never did interview that band because I didn't know what I was dealing with or getting myself into.
The thing is when I'm dealing with the publicist, this is why I show you especially where I'm getting that band from.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay? And that confidentiality, usually the journalist should respect that the email address is there. And the artist usually will send me back an interview or send you an email stating this is confirmed. Send us our interview.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? In text interviews, if I give the email address, you really don't have to confirm it. But with radio stations where a phone is involved, then it has to be confirmed.
Right.
And so therefore, I deal with the actual artist, or I deal with somebody who knows that artist, and it is not backdoored where it hurts the artist's publicist. I don't need a war.
Yeah, exactly. It's best, where there's drama, it's best just to stay out of it and just, let it go.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not,
And I see the drama every day of my life, actually. So basically, at times, I just go, I'm dealing with hobby media, so I have to understand it.
Right.
Okay, so I do understand it. I tend to try to stay away from the drama as much as possible, but when certain circumstances are even put in an email stating, don't ask this question, and the journalist does, I'm going to be all over them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that's my right.
Right. That's right.
Would agree with me.
Mm-hmm.
Because not only did they make themselves look bad, they made the artist look bad, and they made management and the publicist look bad.
That's right. I wish there was more. Now, when it comes to internet radio, like nothing is regulated into what they talk about. Like they can talk crap about anybody on the internet, but how do you feel towards that?
How do you mean?
Like, do you feel that there's too much competition among these DJs? Because I don't know. I don't know if what I'm hearing is true. Like, there seems to be a lot of backbiting on the internet with regard to DJs being in competition with one another. Are you dealing with a lot of that across your table?
Basically,
backbiting?
I look at it as hobby. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
That's what I look at it as.
And that's where a lot of the drama comes in, eh?
I will tell you, I work with about 5 labels at the present time.
Mm-hmm.
I will not tell you the exact source, but how much product generation do you think is caused by the sales of internet radio?
I don't know. You tell me.
All forms.
You're saying all of it?
Like, it is the lowest amount of product sales dedicated to radio. College radio is considered one of the highest famous.
Wow.
As far as internet radio stations, I'll give you an example. I was talking to the artists at the Crossing, which look after their own sales. Very little sales have been generated by.
Very little. I can hardly hear you, Willie.
Very few sales for the Crossing have been generated by internet radio.
Okay. And college radio has been better?
College radio is where their focus is now.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. I get you.
So basically, people think that the industry is using internet radio. Well, internet radio has only existed how many years? 5 years? 6 years?
I'm not really sure, Willie. I started up the eZine in 2007, and then I changed.
Standing from the people that I know, it's been around 6 years.
6 years?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, it's a rather young industry.
You know what my opinion is on this? Like, okay, maybe some DJs I feel like they're being used, but if you love what you do and you're passionate about it and you're not getting paid for it, it depends on the go-getter. If you're a go-getter and you love what you do, you're gonna want to interview that. You're gonna want to take on the job and interview the band. You're gonna want that opportunity.
As a professional, and from my aspect of internet radio, the failure of internet radio as it stands now is the lack of major corporate sponsorship. But how can a corporation look into this new form of media unless that is owned by a major corporation as well? And there's only very few internet radio stations that are commercially owned by themselves. Yahoo has got an internet radio station.
Yeah,
but they do not have the journalists to back it up.
Right.
So, of course, no real interviews are being put out on that. The BBC, meanwhile, has got their own sort of like radio broadcast, and that's beginning to happen, but they've also got the show hosts to back it up. Bruce Dickinson has got, from Iron Maiden, has got a radio show that's on both internet radio and the BBC.
That's awesome.
So there are professionals out there, don't get me wrong, about internet radio, but it has got a long way to go. People have got to be dedicated to it.
Mm-hmm. And they got to have a passion
the
for it.
The thing is to get respect, you have to earn respect.
That's right. Yeah, they have to have a passion for it. I think the passion's got to be there.
It's not like we're dealing with Howard Stern.
Like in my case, I don't care like if I get paid or not. I'm doing it for free because I love doing what I do.
And plus the fact that you're in college to take this.
Yeah.
Type of thing.
Exactly, yes.
Type of hobby journalists that we like to deal with, because we can teach them and then they can take their questions to the college and go, oh, well, we didn't know that.
Yeah, and what we're learning.
But you're in a learning stage.
What we're learning we apply to the class as well.
Not all of these people are. They just think, well, we want to support the band. Well, support the band, okay, how do you mean that? You want to be their friend?
No, you support their music through street teams or word of mouth and tell them to go to the concerts.
The sales of that.
Exactly, that's what it's all about. I believe I'm on the right track. That's what it's all about. You're marketing to sell a product. You're marketing, what to sell merchandise and CDs. To attend, go to that concert, go to that tour, or go on that tour, or attend it. Support the band by doing that.
And
buy a T-shirt.
See how this RIAA fight began was through file sharing, loss of revenue by bands through lack of sales, because there's over 300,000 internet radio stations out there.
Wow.
And you're not dealing with just a radio station, say. Mm-hmm. You're dealing with every DJ that wants every song that the band has put out.
Oh.
So think of how much that could literally cost the industry.
Yeah.
This is why places like Metal Blade, as you know,
mm-hmm.
I look at show that deals with Metal Blade too, so I know of this too, have got a certain site where they have got radio airplay songs that the journalists can access.
Right.
Correct?
Yep.
So they have sanctioned that journalist. You're not supposed to share it with anybody, but it is for a promotional use. And that's it.
Yeah, that's right. Well, unless they say you can use it in a podcast too, like,
Well, if you've got the written permission from that particular label, yes.
Yep.
So, of course, mine's not to question what Metal Blade does. I do happen to know Vince, their PR agent, really well. But the thing is I have to respect what that label does.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not their PR agent.
Right.
But I contacted them on your behalf when we began setting that up, and then Steve took over from Hollywood Music USA, the head part of Hollywood Music,
mm-hmm.
which is all fine and dandy by me because I'm helping promote their artists.
Right, yes.
I don't get paid to do that, but I would rather see it handled professionally.
Mm-hmm. Well, Hollywood Music TV has got a lot of record labels that, definitely contact Steve again and hit him up, because I believe he's got Nuclear Blast as well, and he's got Metal Blades, and he's got a couple more.
Yes,
so,
which are the rather independent,
mm-hmm.
larger independent ones.
Yeah.
Unfortunately lucky to be the media correspondent of a few labels, some in Canada and some foreign ones as well.
Yeah.
But I'm not the one that sends you the music, am I?
No.
I have a specific job of media correspondence and interview. That is handled by another different branch of record companies that I work for.
Right.
Which, by the way, I'm going to be sending you a new label in the new year, too, that you've never dealt with. They're out of Italy.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Look forward to that as well.
I do media correspondence work for, and their label head does most of the publicist.
And you said you're taking on Nuclear Blast as well.
I've got a Nuclear Blast artist.
Okay, Steve deals directly with Nuclear Blast Records, so definitely hit up Steve about that new information.
Right.
Yeah, and yeah, hopefully get on to more of that
I
stuff.
think that you've got an interview with that particular artist. So.
Okay, and it was an online, right?
And I do believe that it's online.
Okay, great. Yeah, I gotta stick to that for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's...
The member of that band does do phone interviews. I try to keep it as simple as possible for you, but there's certain artists that I do like having the audio interview for.
Yeah, well, just let me know what ones they are for the audio, and the online it would be
and of course
the way I'd prefer to go. But
like I say, it becomes costly when it is an audio interview and all of that.
Yeah, it does.
But there are some artists that I actually am friends with that are from Europe that I like having both for, because I like having the promotion of it.
Right, exactly.
For that artist. Because sometimes being an independent band, this is the only form of media that they get.
Right. Now, when we interview the bands, is it okay, like, okay, and now I know you go by the Beast on MySpace and you're not on Facebook or anything, you're very private as a publicist, but do you find it okay that the journalist says thank you to you in the interview for setting up that interview or introducing our eZine to that interview?
Some of the artists are very, very good friends.
Yeah, and how do you feel, like, even if they're not good friends of you, and do you feel that it's good like a good reputation for helping you get your name out there as a publicist, like when the journalist does mention who you are? And
basically dealing with the management directly and a label directly gives you the reputation.
Right.
Independent artists.
I think if you're dealing with a publicist, and I think if you're dealing with a record label, if you're doing an interview with an artist, I think what's new in our format anyway is that you say thank you. You want to send thanks to that publicist or the record label for allowing this interview to happen. I think that's really important.
Well, the thing is I tend to think that, okay, it's sort of like my job, where when I was out on the road, I was a monitor technician and stage technician. How many people really notice them?
No, because like you pick up a CD in the store nowadays and you don't know where it's been mixed or mastered. Like, does anyone really care?
Not really.
But I think it's really important to find out, where was that album recorded? Where was it mixed at?
Well, that is why I get the pleasure of working with certain producers here too, that I like to bring to the media, such as a producer that you actually interviewed.
Richard Chicky.
2008 was Richard Chicky.
Yep.
Who is Russia's producer and has worked with bands like Aerosmith, Scarlet Sins, and many other bands. And some of these people are open to interviews. Not. And some are so busy, you can only get them maybe 1 or 2 times a year. I've had the fortune of actually booking Michael Wagner, who is a legend in this industry. But again, it's wait. It might happen in a year, it might happen in 2 years. So you can't really book a time.
Okay.
He enjoys doing them. It's just he's too busy doing music things behind the scenes.
Right. And sometimes I think that it's really important for younger kids to find out where the CD came from and what it's been through and how much work it's been into it to make it to the market.
Even the recording process of it is important too.
Mm-hmm.
I, in my career, was lucky to work with a very well-known live sound technician who I'm trying to get an interview with. I finally got his contact information. I'm hoping that he will be accessible to a few interviews. I can't guarantee it at this time.
Mm-hmm.
But he wrote a book about live sound and how to properly do it. His background is, well, he's currently, last time I heard, he finally did the last Avril Lavigne tour, but he has worked with such bands as Van Halen, Aerosmith, Julio Iglesias, Ed Nugent. I could go on.
Wow.
And I had the fortune to work with him before all of this.
Wow. It's impressive.
Okay, and I've worked with him on occasion where we've crossed paths to the PA company that he's worked with. But the thing is all of these people in this industry are busy. I also have another sound technician who was the engineer of the live strapping young lad CD.
Awesome.
And actually, he's my student.
Oh, cool.
And I know that he will do interviews. He'll do interviews for eZines and all of that, because I'll twist his arm if he doesn't. But he is now in Australia.
Wow.
He's from Canada. Both of these individuals are from Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Canada should be proud that in mainstream media, Canada is beginning to get recognition for most artists now.
Yeah, exactly.
Before, it was like the top bands.
Well, before, in order to get
Loverboy was not even really well known in Europe.
I know, but before, like, for any author or singer in Canada to make it as a Canadian artist or get any recognition, they have to go down to the States first.
Or Europe.
Yeah, exactly.
A friend of mine, Randy Black, who is the drummer of Primal Fear, was in Annihilator. Annihilator was a Canadian band that didn't get any support in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
If they do, they moved to Europe. Randy is now with one of the top progressive metal bands in the world, but they're not really known over here. So, of course, I being a friend of Randy, I try to get him some media wherever possible.
Mm-hmm. Which is
Randy
good.
is actually rather open to it, but it tends to be a lot of headaches at times because he's got a personal life and it's being done on his own personal time for his own personal projects too.
Yeah, I can know.
So basically, I'm dealing with some artists as individuals because it's going through them and not the record company, but I know the artist for a long time.
Okay, I see where you're coming from. Okay, well, Willie, I guess that's all the questions I have. So, what are the plans for the 2010 and beyond? What big things are planned for in the new year?
Well, I'm waiting to hear from certain negotiations that are going on to further my career.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, hobby media doesn't pay anybody.
No.
College radio doesn't pay anybody. I get paid very little for what I do in the industry as such because of the artists that I represent and the contracts that are involved. I myself want to have my own PR company, which takes a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, I'm in negotiations with a major man
Awesome.
at this time.
Okay. And I guess we can look forward to changes, or sweeping changes, I guess, in 2010?
Oh, well, we're hoping for that.
Okay.
The plan also is for myself personally to move over to Europe.
Yeah,